Still here. Quorum is present. Please rise. Um, We're going to, we're going to have to skip the invocation tonight. Something came up from our invocation presentee. And if you would come forward for the Pledge of Allegiance to be given by the Karate Kids. Karate Kids, if you could come forward, please, up here. Thank you, right there. Thank you. Go ahead. Eli, we have a spokesman for the Pledge of Allegiance who will, thank you so much.
Wait, what? Oh, okay. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, young man, and the Karate Kids. Next in line will be the acknowledgement and presentations. Diane, will you please introduce the certificates and appreciation and presentations, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor and City Council. The first one we're going to have is the Certificate of Recognition for Gus. And I'd like for Gus and Bernie Barnes to please come forward. Gus was certified as a therapy dog with PAWS for service in May 2015. He began his assignment with Methodist Hospital in November 2015. At Methodist, he visits kids on the oncology ward, medical surgery floor, and pediatric intensive care unit. He visits about 25 to 30 kids every Wednesday. In July 2015, Gus became certified Reading Education Assistant Dog, or READ. He began his assignment at Jackson Keller Elementary School in October 2015. The mission of the READ program is to improve the literacy skills of children through the assistance of therapy dogs, and Gus certainly fills that role. Every Thursday, Gus works with small groups of kids who have difficulty in all areas of reading, and there have been evidence of great improvement with these students. While at the school, Gus visits other classrooms and always makes a point to stop in and see the special education kids. He is greeted with, "I love you, Gus. We missed you." Lots of petting, loving, and hugs. Even the teachers and staff take a few minutes to greet Gus and receive the benefits of pet therapy. Everyone looks forward to Thursday knowing that Gus will be there to bring them doggy joy and lots of smiles. Mayor Howell, will you please present a certificate of recognition to Gus for all of his work?
Diane, I'll be glad to. I have to tell you, the first time I was introduced with Gus, the chief and I were over there working on something over at the school, and Gus came in with Bernie, and I couldn't believe how the kids crowded around and how happy their faces were that they had a program like this. So with that said, I would like to honor him today with a certificate of recognition awarded to Gus. Kind of like me. Gus is recognized for being certified as a READ, R-E-A-D, and therapy dog with PAWS, and his dedication to the youth of the community, and his innate canine ability to, without judgment, offer joy, compassion, and unconditional love to those around him. The mere presence of Gus on the campus raises the spirits of the students, the faculty, the staff. Gus enhances the academic environment. Awarded this day, May 10th, 2016, signed Timothy A. Howell, Mayor of Castle Hill. I'm very proud to have him also as a resident of the city. Thank you.
Mayor Howell, Gus has brought some of his friends. We have gone to the dogs tonight, and I would ask them to come forward to be honored for all the great work that they do. And as a special thank you for all they do, we have a treat for Gus and all of his friends.
Fantastic. Y'all come on up.
I'm from Bernie.
From Bernie.
Yes, sir.
Good, glad to have you in. Who is this?
Hi, this is Maggie Mag. I'm Lynette.
Nice to meet you. Oh, yeah, he's all on fire. Good to see you. Haley. Is that Gus's sister?
Well, that's, they're not related, but this is his sister.
Yeah.
She goes into schools and stuff. not
Okay.
the, hospital.
Okay. Yeah, let's get up there.
Okay. I got a good one if you're best. You know what I mean?
That's fine.
I got some. That's cool. Okay.
We'll send them over and I'll get them.
Okay.
Bernie, thank you again and the organization and for having all of his friends up here. It was really a joy to have you all here this evening. Looking forward to seeing him again. Let's give him a hand.
Can we just play with the dogs the rest of the meeting?
Sure.
You want me to- Okay, we're going to do the update on the street maintenance plan. As promised last month, we're going to give an update monthly on where we stand on it. We're on West Castle still, South Winston to West Avenue. We're still doing utility work, tie-ins, and street work. They've moved up the date on East Castle. We're doing from West Avenue to Caladium. They were supposed to start on the 13th. They started about a week and a half ago. We're doing utility work, testing. Oh, we're coming back. Tie-ins and street work, and that's the schedule of what East Castle will be. Then we've got Cremeria, which should start 6/21 and be finished 8/10. We've got Mimosa West Avenue to Zornia, which starts 7/20 and should end 9/2. We've got Adobe from West Avenue to Roundup, which should start 9/5 and end 10/28. We've got Gladiola, which will be Jackson Keller to Dandelion, which will be 10/31 to 12/1. And then we've got Danube to finish it up, Jackson Keller to Herwick, which will be 11/22 to 1/26. We've had some challenges, which certainly can be expected. We've hit some unmarked water lines and some gas lines, but this is certainly to be expected with our aging infrastructure. The project superintendent for Easy Bell has notified me immediately of each time we've hit, and I've gone out and talked to the residents, so we seem to be on task right now. We haven't hit anything in about a week, so that's a good thing. We had a few rain delays, but they were able to catch up. Do I have any questions on the street maintenance?
No, Diane, I just wanted to make sure that this council is recognized, every single person, including Ms. Winger, who isn't here this evening, on John, you especially, who is in charge of the street program. Rick, oh, there you are, okay. Rick, Diane, this council who's moved this forward. We're in phases now, we're in phase 2. I think when we started this thing, we never guessed that we would be as far along as we are. And and I even thank the people, the residents who are suffering right now with mail situations where the mail truck won't go down the street or not able to get their car in, work with us. We're getting there. Phase 3 will start soon. Phase 4, Phase 5, and eventually we're going to get it all done. So with that said, thank you, Diane. Go ahead.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the proclamation for the Karate Kids of America. The Karate Kids of America invite students to unite with them and celebrate their independence from drugs, alcohol, and gangs by pledging to just say no. Mayor Howe, will you please present a proclamation to Eli Guerra and the Karate Kids of America?
Before we get started, I wanted to recognize someone we have here this evening. The Honorable Sandy Wolf, NEISD District 3, is with us this evening. Thank you, Sandy. Kids, could you come up here, please, for the proclamation? Mr. Guerra is a resident here in Castle Hills. I've had the pleasure of, at least the past 2 or 3 years, doing this proclamation for this organization. Fine bunch of young men and women. This is from the Office of the Mayor, City of Castle Hills, a proclamation. Whereas the San Antonio Karate Kids of America invite students to join them in pledging to just say no and celebrate their independence from drugs, alcohol, and gangs. And whereas the local Just Say No campaign was founded by Eli Guerra, following the example of former First Lady Nancy Reagan, who founded the national campaign. And whereas students are encouraged to demonstrate their concern for destructive problems by participating in a writing contest in which they would write a letter to a friend, encouraging the friend to say no to drugs, alcohol, and gangs. And whereas this observation helps young people understand the dangers of peer pressure and realize that their positive example can influence others to live chemical-free and non-violent lives. Therefore, I, Timothy A. Howell, Mayor, City of Castle Hills, do hereby proclaim May 2016 as Karate Kids of San Antonio Just Say No to Drugs, Alcohol, Gangs Month. Signed this day, May the 10th, Timothy A. Howell. Thank you. Kids, what an honor it is for me to, I think this is the 3rd year we've done this. Eli, for you to step forward and give Eli a hand. He does this. We're lucky to have him as a resident of Castle Hills. Thank you, Eli. Can we get a picture? Did you have something? Of course. Go ahead.
You know, Mayor and City Council, as you said, this is my 3rd year, but we've been doing it for many, many years. We thank you once again for giving us the opportunity to be here in front of you and the City of Castle Hills to honor and praise these children for their persuasive efforts in discouraging their friends from drugs, gangs, and alcohol. We're thankful for the many volunteers who made the Karate Kids Just Say No program a success, such as the FBI staff, the DEA staff, who these guys volunteer their time and efforts to judging all these letters that these kids write, and it is difficult for them, emotional for them too, when they read these letters about their relatives, about their parents, their brothers, sisters, the troubles that they have gone through. And of course, to do all the judging, the YWCA Challenge Program, Frost Bank, IBC Bank, Sea Island, they're the ones that sponsor the prizes that we give to these kids, and that's a great incentive for them. And I want to thank also the San Antonio Spurs for being here, to the Castle Hills City Council, all of you guys that take the time out of your valuable day that you have to be here. I'm pretty sure you got a lot of things, but you take the time to honor these children, and that's what it's all about. It's honoring them. We also welcome our DEA agent in charge, Agent Dante, who's and our Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, to our certificates. Agent Dante, we welcome you to come here. We would like for our IBC representatives and our Board of Trustees representatives to say a few words, and our Chief of Police from Castle Hills, and IBC to say a few words, if you don't mind, to the children and to the City Council. I'll start out with Mr. Olivares here from IBC.
Good evening, everyone, and I wanted to congratulate the kids for participating in this great program. And again, as Mr. Guerra said, my name is Jesus Olivares, represent IBC Bank here locally, and we fully support the program, such a positive program, and I want to thank again the mayor for that proclamation. And again, congratulations, and I look forward to participating in these events in the future.
Of course, we couldn't do it without our Board of Trustees, Sandy Wolf, who's been very kind to be here, and I would appreciate it if you just say a few words.
Well, thank you, Eli. One of the things I love about this program is that it is about our kids, and it's about the health, safety of our children, and I really appreciate that that y'all are doing a great job, and so thank you not only to you, but thank you to your parents who let you participate in this program. So thank you very much for being here today. Thanks, Eli.
Of course, our Chief of Police here for Castle Hills.
Yeah, we thank you very much, Eli. We supported this program. I believe I spoke last year. It's an opportunity for kids to actually encounter peer pressure, but in a positive way, and keeps them on the right track and keeps them from getting on the wrong track. So that's important. We support it, and it's a great program, and we hope it continues. Thanks, Eli.
Thank you. And our last but not least is Mr. From Colonial Hills. He had a first place winner, which was awesome.
And I'll just say, just real brief, I know we have a full agenda, but I just want to thank all the parents who are here as far as to support the students in the writings that they did. And I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored, to represent Colonial Hills. And I know, we have students from other schools here. The goal's the same, to service all children, being in education. But I just want to congratulate everybody for the fine work that y'all did and being drug-free, and congratulations.
Last but not least, Mayor Timothy Howell, we want to present you with this 2016 certificate signed by our new agent in charge, Mr. Dante, and also our new Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. So please accept this.
Thank you so much. Eli.
And we'd like to take a picture with all of you, and I invite you all to come on over, Sandy and Kevin too, and Mr. Dante, and Mr. Trevino.
Is it in front of the podium or behind it? Oh, yeah.
give the other certificates?
Eli, thank you again for bringing them in. Be looking forward to it next year. Take care. I'll be there tomorrow, 5 o'clock.
Mayor and City Council, the next thing on our agenda is the 4th of July parade and picnic. We're bringing it back. Mark your calendars for Monday, July 4th, and plan to join your neighbors as we celebrate the 240th birthday of the United States of America. At 8:30, we will have a bicycle check by the police department, and that will continue throughout the morning. At 9:15, we will have a presentation of colors and a parade. At 10 o'clock, we'll have a flag ceremony. At 11:30, we will have hot dogs and hamburgers, and we'll have some fun in the sun activities, which will include a watermelon seed spitting contest, cornhole, clowns, and a water slide. This is a city-sponsored event. We are going to be emphasizing the different aspects of child safety. And a special thanks goes to Richard Weezar for his initial suggestion for this great event, and for Patsy Martin for saying yes when she was asked to assist. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Diane, for putting that together. This is
Sure.
something that we've been wanting to do for a long time, and we were able to do it this time. So I'm very pleased. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is a presentation of the Starbucks gift cards. Chief Davis, if you'll please come forward. Mayor Howell, would you please present these Starbucks gift cards to Chief Davis for the police officers? They are for $20 each, and this generous gift was given by Judge Tanner, and her family. This generous gift is greatly appreciated, and on behalf of the city, we thank all the great work that the officers do.
That's a surprise. I didn't.
Of course you didn't. I can keep surprises.
Chief, I was going to save this for announcements a little later, but
It's a pink bag.
I wanted to point out, I don't know if you saw the news, but both the officers that were injured are out of the hospital now, back at home. I spoke to each of them last night, and they'll be out for a few days. But how lucky we are. The emails, I can't tell you how many emails I got from across the city of especially the determination of the two that were on duty the night that happened. He had to have run, Chief, am I exaggerating, at a half a mile? He had to run a half a mile to catch this guy and run into the middle of the freeway. And thank God that neither one of them were hit. Well, they were hit, but not hit badly. So 410 at 3:30 in the morning? 2:45 in the morning and 410, I don't think it's very safe out there. And our guy caught him, and he wrestled him through the ground, and we got it all on tape. Everything was picture perfect as far as their arrest is concerned. And I just thank God tonight that nobody was killed, nobody was injured, and both of them sound good on the phone last night. And of course, we'll be recognizing them in June. Thank you. Okay. The next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard, and I understand that we don't have any citizens to be heard. Pete, did you want to say something, sir? Oh, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Pete and I went to first grade together, so Pete never was short on words. Okay, with that said, we're going to move into the regular agenda, presentation and acceptance of the fiscal 2015 audit and the comprehensive annual financial report prepared by Armstrong, Vaughn, and Associates, PC. Diane, will you explain this item, please?
I will. Mayor and City Council. Chapter 103 of the Local Government Code requires that a municipality have its records and accounts audited annually and to have an annual financial statement prepared based on the audit. Deborah Frazier with Armstrong, Vaughn and Associates will discuss the fiscal year 2015 audit findings and present the consolidated annual financial report.
Did you email them in the agenda? We do have hard copies, if you all would like hard copies rather than the email in the agenda. Do you?
Douglas, you want a hard copy? Oh, good, okay.
Okay. Well, good evening. I am Deborah Fraser. I'm from Armstrong, Vaughn and Associates, and I'd like to thank the city and all its employees for putting up with us for a week. Again, we do try not to be invasive, but usually for a week, we probably drive half of them nuts. And they were all gracious. If you turn to page 1, this is our independent audit report. And it basically says that after adjustments, your financial statements are fairly stated and materially correct. If you remember, your audit is broken up into 2 types of statements. One is the full accrual and one is the modified accrual for which you budget. Last year, GASB 68 came into effect, which required us to accrue your net pension liability. So you usually have net pension liability from TMRS that has been reported in the required supplementary information, but it's never been booked to your financial statements. So I just want to point that out on page 11. This is your statement of net position, and I'll give you a second to get there. But in the statement of net position, we basically added 3 types of accounts: the deferred outflows, which are pension-related outflows of $566,805. Then under liabilities, we added the net pension liability of $1,617,356. And then down a few more lines under deferred inflows, we added deferred pension-related inflow of $314,688. And if you look at page 12, the prior period adjustment, that relates to the GASB 68 or your TMRS retirement that was actually due in prior periods. Now, GASB 68 required us to report it prospectively, not retrospectively. So you'll see in our RSI, or required supplementary information, you'll see the next 10 years added one by one. I would like you to turn back to page 29 because this is the explanation of our TMRS and retirement system. Page 27 and 28 give you a summary of how many employees are active, inactive, and inactive receiving benefits, the inflation, salary increases, investment rate of return. And if you turn to page 29 and 30, you'll see the changes in net pension liability from December 31st, 2013 of $1.9 million to the balance at December 31st, 2014 of $1.6 million. If you turn to page 31, we just went over on the statement of financial position what the deferred outflows and inflows were. The first table shows you that we had changes in actuarial assumptions, differences between expected and actual economic experience. This is basically a liability. So you're actually having people live a little longer who are in retirement. The current ages are 80 for gentlemen and 85 for the ladies. So you're kind of a little upside down, 314,688 in that area. However, the difference between projected and actual earnings, they project that you're going to earn 7%. You've actually earned better than 7%, and the difference in that dollar figure is $133,488. And then they have a measurement date of 12/31/2014, so we also have to recognize your contributions that you paid in 2015. You guys are 84.9% funded. The GFO is now recommending that you be funded at least 75%. You'll probably never be funded 100%, which is very good. They don't want you to be funded 100%. So every year, your actuarial value or your phase-in or full rate from TMRS will be determined based on these factors that we just went over. So if we go back to page, do you have any questions on that? I know I went over it very quickly and. Well, as they look at your investment portfolio or investment rate and your actuarial assumptions, that's what will determine if your rate goes higher or lower based on your assumptions. So 7%, possible 3% inflation factor. They use the smooth market entry age calculation. What happened is 3 years ago, they changed from projected unit to entry age. So the projected unit kind of gave you a bell curve. You didn't put much in at the beginning of your career, and you started putting a lot more in at the middle of your career. The entry age, you put in the same amount for the entire lifetime of that employee. Okay, so if you turn back to page 13, this is the balance sheet, and this is how you budget. At the end of the year, you had total assets of almost $9.9 million. Of your assets, $6.9 million of them are cash and investments. You had liabilities, which are current liabilities, of $567,379, and you also had collected property taxes levied for future year, 2016, of $2.9 million. So that left you with fund balances total of almost $6.2 million. Of that $6.2 million, you had an unassigned fund balance of $2.7 million, which represents over 6 months of your operating expenditures. I'm going to have you turn back to page 34. This is your budget to actual for your general fund. You actually budgeted close to $6 million. You actually received close to $6 million in revenues. You had a positive variance of $45,000, so you collected $45,000 more than you anticipated in your budget. Your expenditures, you budgeted to expend $5.8 million. You actually spent close to $5.4 million, leaving you with a positive variance of $457,000. So overall, you increased your fund balance by $642,205 over the course of the year. If you turn to page 35, this is your street fund. You actually brought in $290,000. Part of that was a licensing agreement with your, I can't think what they're called, digital billboards. And that was the majority of the positive fund balance, or positive variance between your budget and actual. You actually spent $591,980. You budgeted $70,000, so you had gone over your budget of 522, almost 522,000. You actually decreased your fund balance in the street department by 301,000, which basically you should. You know, you're collecting that tax to rebuild your streets. Page 37 and 38, I just want to point this out. This is a new table for your TMRS liabilities. And if you look the third line up from the bottom on page 37, this is where your planned fiduciary net position as a percentage of total pension liability is. And this is the percentage I was discussing earlier, that the GFOA is recommending that it be above 75%. So you're 10% above the expected, or to the good. You contributed $433,000 during the year to your TMRS plan. I have no other presentation if you'd like to
I just
ask
wanted to
some
ask a
questions.
quick question. I don't know if you're really involved. So at the end of the day, are we going to be able to use the excess 200,000, which is required by our law, to put into the,
We increased it. You mean the street fund?
yes?
Yes. We increased it by the required codification or.
And all that's figured in? So we met our goal this year. Did that have to do with any of the funds that we received from the,
Billboard?
yes?
No.
So that was totally separate?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. The
Good job.
The billboard is in the street fund. The revenues are recognized in the street fund, not in the general fund.
Good.
And the general fund is where you've increased your street.
Suzanne, Diane, and our auditors, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
It's that sounds like good news to me.
Thank you.
And council.
Any questions?
And just to follow up on the mayor's question, I just want to make sure, as I'm seeing this, we had a surplus of what amount? For 20?
Well, we increased it. You had a surplus this year totally in the general fund of $554,000. A portion of that was used to increase your street maintenance up to $1,108,000.
Okay, so the 400,000 that we, that was transferred into that fund, is that correct?
It's not a separate fund. It's just designated
It was
basically
allocated into that
in
fund.
your fund balance. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
It's any amount over 400,000, correct?
Right off the top of my head, I
So it'd be
cannot
150,000 that we, probably,
increased it
yeah.
by the
difference.
difference.
Okay.
Well, we increased it by what your.
Right, that's what I said. I believe it's 400,000 is anything over $400,000.
To be honest, I
correct?
can't
200.
think of it off the top of my head.
That's all right, go ahead.
Was what we increased.
Okay.
No. I can give you that figure exactly.
Okay, yeah, I remember the ordinance. I thought it was anything over. Two quick questions. Number one, in looking at this and trying to review some of these things, it seems to me like it's more of an operational audit as opposed to a counting every bean.
Well,
Is that correct?
it's,
I'm not being disparaging
Yeah.
on it, I just,
no, it's a financial audit.
Right.
So it's not a fraud audit. We do take
Right.
samples of various items,
Okay,
but we
and-
don't check every item.
well, the reason I go to that is I noticed that there was the one exception on page 3 about the Public Funds Investment Act. Have we corrected that situation?
On page, Oh, on the governance letter? Well, you're required for your treasurer or anybody signing the investment reports to
Correct.
obtain, and as far as I know, have you obtained?
All right, do
the
we have plans to do
required
that, or are we going? Okay, do we have plans to correct it? Mr. Gregory, city council, city manager, whomever. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Was there any other questions? Oh, Douglas, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, just two things in the financial highlights. The total cost of the city's programs decreased 3.8% from the previous year, and expenses were $1 million less than the $7 million generated in taxes. Now, I think this is clearly saying we're running on a much better, leaner position than we have in the past. And I just wanted to congratulate the administrative branch and the council for these figures.
Thank you, Douglas. Is there anything else council had to say? Questions? Moving on. Thank you.
Okay, I would especially like to thank Suzanne for all of her hard work, not only during the audit, but all during the year, because this is the culmination of her financial records and what she does to bring it about. So I certainly thank her for that. Council, I do recommend acceptance of the fiscal year 2015 audit and the comprehensive annual financial report prepared by Armstrong, Vaughn and Associates.
Do we have a motion on as read?
I so move the motion.
Second? All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council. We'll move on to item 5. Consider the approval of ordinance number 2016-0510, an ordinance amending Chapter 8 Buildings and Building Regulations of the Code of Ordinances by revising Section 8.175, minimum area requirements for lots without public sewer connections, and adding Section 8-180 flag lot standards. Diane, will you explain this, please?
I will. Mayor and City Council. Chapter 8, Buildings and Building Regulations, Section 8-175, has been in existence since ordinance number 250 was adopted July 26, 1965. Councilman Squire, weeks ago, requested that the staff research the history of Section 8-175. Castle Hills has large parcels of land that could potentially be replatted into several lots. As these parcels of land are divided, it is important that we regulate safe ingress and egress, provide for adequate emergency services, regulate density of residential areas, and ensure compliance with county and state regulations regarding on-site sanitary sewer facilities. In your packet, you received the red line version of the current and proposed revisions. I would like to go over those now. In the current code, it states that a building permit shall not be issued for construction of any building on a lot containing less than the minimum size as determined by the county for a septic system. Our proposed changes provides the current sizing minimum requirements currently adopted by the Bexar County Commissioners Court. It also includes that all amendments and other future changes to the Bexar County Commissioners Court order, so that way when Bexar County changes something for sewer requirements, we don't have to come back to council and change it. Also, it states the lot will have a minimum of 100 feet frontage unless specified differently elsewhere in the code. Unfortunately, it was not mentioned in any other section of the code. So we've removed the 100 feet frontage requirement from Section 8-175A, and we reinforce the need for septic systems to be registered with Bexar County. The minimum front feet requirement of this section may be less than 100 front feet in cases where irregularly shaped lots are created by curved streets and the lot, provided the width of such lots at the building setback line is 100 feet or more. Our proposed change to that requires the 100 feet of frontage unless the parcel is considered a flag lot as provided in the newly created Section 8-180, which we'll go over in just a minute. Also, the current code declares a public nuisance if the minimum front footage or lot size are not met with or without building permit and a C of O. The proposed change is the minimum front feet requirement of this section may be less than 100 front feet in cases where irregularly shaped lots are created by curved streets and the like, provided the width of such lots at the building setback is 100 feet or more. This is the flag lot standards. Also in your packet, you had a list of flag lots that have been allowed to be built on in this city in years past, and I don't know why they were. I can't speak to why they were allowed to be built, but we had no flag lot standards. So we want to add flag lot standards, which a flag lot is a land parcel that lies at the end of a narrow strip, providing access to a public street with the bulk of the property having no frontage. To ensure safe and orderly development of land, development must adhere to the following design standards. Flag lots shall be restricted to A single-family residential parcels. The minimum lot size as specified in Section 50-64 of this code shall not include the excess right-of-way to the property. The minimum width for the excess right-of-way is 20 feet, and the driveway portion must be surfaced as defined in Section 50-1, which defines how we surface our driveways. If the excess right-of-way serves more than one flag lot, the right-of-way must be at least 50 feet wide, with a surface driveway portion having a minimum width of 25 feet. Shared excess easements and utility easements must be depicted on the plat or filed with the county by separate instrument. The distance from a fire hydrant to the furthest point of a habitable structure may not exceed 1,000 feet, with the measurement being calculated utilizing the excess right-of-way, and that is because we have 1,000 feet of hose. The property addresses must be visible from the roadway per Section 38-21 of this code, and if the flag lot parcel is without a public sewer connection, it must comply with Section 8-175. That is all we have. I want to thank Councilman Squire. I want to thank Councilman Daggett. We spent numerous hours going over this ordinance, and we kicked it around. We played devil's advocate, and so we're here today.
Thank you, Diane. Before we get started on this, can I please have a motion and a second to move this forward into discussion, please?
So move.
A second?
Okay. All right, we have a motion from Mr. Squire and a second from Mr. Daggett. We'll start with discussion. Let's start to the left. Mr. Daggett, did you have any comments or questions for Diane?
No, not at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Squire, did you have any comments or questions regarding the item on floor?
Of course I do.
Thank you, Mr. Squire.
Diane, I just want to thank you for describing this this revision of our ordinances. Also, Janet Thalen had a significant amount of impact on this. She did a lot of behind-the-scene research too. So I just want to thank her for her assistance on this too. You know, we had a flag lot ordinance in place here that was fairly outdated. Really needed to be updated. Didn't make sense for a lot of the lots that we had. It's been violated numerous occasions by the listing of the lots. We already know that. So the effectiveness of the ordinance was subject to it was greatly minimized in my opinion. So we needed to get that fixed, and I think that's what we're doing here. I guess moving forward, the intention of this was flag lots are going to happen in the city. We already have them. There's still many parcels of lands that can be developed properly, and what this does is set the guidance for these parcels to be developed in a proper fashion in regards to ingress, egress, safety. We had conversations with the chief to make sure that, I should say chief, I should say a fire chief, to get in and out of these residences. And obviously, we only limited it to single-family residential homes, so you're not going to see commercial enterprises going in on these flag lots. That was very inappropriate, is what we all believe. So I can answer questions as we move forward on this, but I think we fixed a lot of items and allow proper continued development of those lots as it happens.
Thank you, Mr. Squire. Mr. Paul, did you have any questions or comments regarding the item on the table, please?
Yes, I'd like to also thank Councilman Daggett and Squire on this. It does take a lot of work. Like myself, I know, as most of the people, all the people up here know, we need smart progress in the city, and to hold people back from using the property that's there, I just think this is a smart way to go, and this is one of the things that's long overdue, and again, I want to thank them for working on it.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Mr. Gregory, did you have any comments or questions regarding the item on the table, please?
Yes. Are current flag lots grandfathered?
Well, to answer that, and probably Mr. Brennan will be better, but I understand a grandfathering is not a legal definition, if I understand that. However, they are existing. They do have certificate of occupancies, and it doesn't. And in my estimation, in my opinion, that doesn't allow us to go back and impact the existing flag lots with the existing structures that are in place.
On section G, the property addressees must be visible from the roadway. Why? Why must they be visible from the roadway? The address? Well, you say the property address. Are you talking about the mailbox, or are you talking about the building itself?
Just to be able to
Just
identify
the address of the property, the physical
Okay, that answers
site
that.
address of the property.
And the access to right-of-way must be 50 feet wide. Is that, how did you come up with 50 feet?
That's a good question. That went back and forth, for a while. We were trying to come up with a way to allow ingress and egress on multiple flag lots. Again, this applies only to more, when you have more than one, i.e. 2, 3, 4, or I guess however it could go. And the thought process is if we have some sort of incident and people need to get into that flag, into that, you need to allow vehicles to get in there, and that's why we set the pavement width at 25 feet also. So you can get larger vehicles in there to, if you need an ambulance, if one of the engines need to get in there. Also, the thought process was you're going to have multiple families in these too. So if you have two vehicles passing each other, delivery vehicles, residential cars, trucks, you need to have room to allow these vehicles to get by each other.
Thank you. I guess I wanted to say a couple of words about this and thank Councilman Squire and Daggett and actually all of council for allowing this, however it comes out, to do the research that it took. I know last month it was on the agenda, and there might have been some thoughts that we were trying to stall this thing or something, but this is real important, and I was very pleased to see the work that was done on it, and it was thorough. And with that said, we're going to ask for a vote. So, all in favor? Go ahead, John.
Douglas, one thing else too, one of the reasons we set that with too is also for utilities. if you have multiple flag lots, that could impact that too. We want to make sure allow adequate room for water, sewer, electric, cable, whatever. Okay, sorry, thank you.
Okay, on item 5, we're considering the approval of ordinance number 2016-0510, the ordinance amending the chapter of buildings and building regulations of the Code of Ordinances by revising section 8.175, minimum area requirements of lots without public sewer connections, and adding section 8.180, flag lot standards. We have a motion on the table by Mr. Squire, a second by Mr. Daggett. All in favor? Thank you, council. Approved unanimously. Item 6, consider the approval of ordinance number 2016-05-10A, an ordinance amending Chapter 44, Traffic and Vehicles of the Code of Ordinances by amending Section Chapter 44, Traffic and Vehicles of the Code of Ordinances by amending Section 41-1, Definitions, and adopting Division 3 of Article 5, Rules of the Road pertaining to motorized carts. Diane, will you explain this item, please?
I will, Mayor and City Council. Chapter 44 of the Castle Hills Code of Ordinances deals with traffic and vehicles. A resident brought to the city's attention that there was no ordinance dealing with motorized carts, or most specifically golf carts. Chief Davis and I researched the Texas Transportation Code, Texas Department of Motor Vehicles, Texas Municipal League, and other municipalities. Councilman Daggett also assisted us with the research. Texas Transportation Code Section 547-703, Section 551.404, and House Bill 2553 authorize a governing body of a municipality to regulate and control the operation of motorized carts, golf carts only, within the city's legal boundaries and on public streets. There were several definitions added to Section 41.1. The most specific and most important one is motorized carts. It means those gasoline, and this came out of the Texas Transportation Code, means those electric and gasoline-powered carts, commonly referred to as golf carts, but which must have a minimum of 4 wheels and which have an attainable top speed not greater than 25 miles per hour on a paved level surface, and which is manufactured in compliance with those federal motor vehicle safety standards for low-speed vehicles. Specifically excluded from this definition are those motorized conveyances commonly referred to as UTVs, ATVs, four-wheelers, mules, and gators. And I've got to tell you, before we started researching this, I thought I knew what a UTV and an ATV and all these things were, and I had no idea. Nor did the chief, because we thought an ATV was something totally different than what it is. But anyway, we're here, and we can give you the definitions of any of them. I digress, I'm sorry. Okay, in the ordinance, every motorized cart must be equipped with the following: operational headlamps, operational tail lamps, side reflectors, operational parking brake, rear view mirrors capable of a clear, unobstructed view of at least 200 feet to the rear, slow-moving vehicle emblem, and a horn. Now, these are the operational regulations. All drivers shall have a valid driver's license and shall abide by all the traffic regulations applicable to vehicular traffic when using the authorized streets and parking areas of the city. Motorized carts shall not be operated on any sidewalk, pedestrian walkway, jogging path, park trail, or any location normally used for pedestrian traffic. No person may operate a motorized cart upon any portion of a street or traffic way having a posted speed greater than 35 miles per hour. All motorized carts are entitled to a full use of a lane on the authorized streets and parking areas of the city, and no motor vehicle shall be driven in such a manner as to deprive any motorized cart of the full use of a lane. The driver of a motorized cart shall not overtake and pass in the same lane occupied by the vehicle being overtaken. No driver shall operate a motorized cart between lanes of traffic or between adjacent lines or rows of vehicles. The number of occupants in a motorized cart shall be limited to the number of persons for whom factory seating is installed and provided on the motorized cart. I continue with operational regulations. Children must be properly seated while a cart is in motion and may not be transported in a reckless or negligent manner. Motorized carts may only be parked in the same manner and at the same places designated by the parking of motor vehicles. Motorized carts may not be used to tow a person on roller skates, skateboards, or a bicycle. Motorized carts shall not be operated on Northwest Military Highway and West Avenue unless crossing the highway or the roadway. Motorized carts shall not be operated on Northwest Loop 410 or the frontage road. Now the liability. Any owner of a motorized cart operated on public streets and right-of-ways of the City of Castle Hill shall maintain liability insurance for any injuries or property damage caused by the use of such owner's motorized cart in the City of Castle Hills. This liability costs about $75 a year, give or take. Owners are fully liable and accountable for the actions of any individual that they provide permission to operate and drive said motorized cart both on personal and our town and public properties. I would like to thank Councilman Daggett and Councilman Squire and Chief Davis because, again, we met numerous times, played devil's advocate, and we feel like this is a good ordinance for the motorized carts. One thing I will caution anybody that drives their motorized carts that the open container law does apply. I had to say that. Do you have, pardon me?
Is there anything you can do? No, I'm sorry, excuse me, that wasn't an
You were the
appropriate
one that
question.
wanted them very safe on the streets.
Thank you very much, thanks
Are
for
there
pointing
any
that out.
questions?
Chief, I just have one quick question. About the liability portion of it, are they going to actually get a card like we get a thing, or is it just kind of a, like USAA will issue a card, or? Okay, all right. It's no big deal, I just, I could, anyway. Okay, do we have a motion?
A motion?
Second? Okay, by Mr. Paul. Okay, discussion. Mr. Daggett, do you have any questions or comments for the item on the table?
I know a number of our residents have used golf carts in Castle Hills for many years. We asked the chief, as far as we know, we've never had an incident regarding golf carts. I think it's brings our community together and closer as neighbors can converse with people and more of a sense of community among neighbors. I just thought that was a neat thing. I know in neighborhoods like Port Aransas and other communities, Windcrest, and they allow golf carts in it, and it's been a good thing and just makes people a more desirable neighborhood. We needed to be smart about this, so we put a lot of safety features into this to protect people, and I think we did go back and forth a lot with a lot of ideas, and I think this is a good thing we've come up with.
Thank you, Mr. Daggett. Mr. Squire?
Yeah, just one thing to confirm, a follow-up on Mr. Daggett, but Chief, and I'm sure you did the research just to make sure, but has there ever been any incidences in this city involving golf carts that you're aware of? Okay, all right. Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Squire. Mr. Paul, did you have any questions or comments, please? Thank you. Mr. Gregory, did you have any comments or questions for the item on the table, please? Okay, with that said, we have a first, we have a second, and all in favor of the item? Thank you. Unanimous. Council, okay, now we're going to move on to item number 7, which is consider acknowledging receipt of the 2016 first quarter investment report. Diane, will you explain this, please? Yes.
Magic. Co-signed by Finance Director Suzanne Riley and City Treasurer Douglas Gregory. This allows council to view the investment report and acknowledge receipt. Mayor Howell?
Excuse me? Oh, okay. Do we have a motion do we have a motion for this item? Thank you, Douglas. Do we have a second? Okay. Do we have any discussion? Douglas, I'm sure you had something to say. Oh, okay. You have anything to say, Matt?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll just wait just for a second. John, do you have anything to say?
Just so what I'm saying is audible, I'm just looking at the CDs that were purchased and rather envious of the return that we're getting on these. I want to get some on my own, to be honest with you, so. I said I'm envious of the interest rate on the CDs that we have invested.
And that he was going to purchase some. Thank you very much. Okay, now we have an item. We have a second. Mr. Paul, do you need to catch up, or you know where we're at? Thank you so much. All right, so with that said, all in favor? We have unanimous. Thank you so much, council. Okay, the next item is item number 8. Consider the appointment of an alternate member to the Board of Adjustment. Diane, will you please explain this item?
I will, Mayor and City Council. The Board of Adjustment consists of 5 members who are citizens of the City of Castle Hills and who are not members of the City Council or the Zoning Commission. The mayor shall appoint and the City Council shall confirm alternate members of the Board of Adjustment who shall serve in the absence of one or more of the regular members when requested to do so by the mayor. Bonnie Hopke was an alternate and was appointed to a full member. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Diane. We actually brought this up last time, and I wanted to make sure that there was a gentleman that I had been thinking about for a long time, but we hadn't talked to him yet regarding whether or not he would like to serve. So as the mayor of Castle Hills, I would like to appoint George Acosta. George is a resident of Castle Hills who lives on Dogwood. He was very interested in serving, and I would like to bring him forward. So do I have a motion? Or some?
I motion.
Okay. And a second? Thank you, Frank. Mr. Gregory, do you have a question or comment on the thing? Thank you so much. Okay, with that said, Mr. George Acosta, all in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council, for that. The consent agenda. The consent agenda is items that will take up all at one time. Council members can pull an item if they would request, but this is item number 9, which is consider the approval of the April 2016 Treasurer's Report, consider the approval of the April 12th, 2016 regular council meeting, and that's it. Would anybody like to pull item A or B? Okay, with that said, do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Douglas? Frank? We're all good?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you so much, council. All right, moving on to the next item, which is reports by the city manager. Diane, would you please present your reports to council, please?
Yes, Mayor and City Council. What a busy month the city has had. So many projects are coming to fruition and so many challenges are ongoing. There appears to be light at the end of the long-standing flooding issue from the city of San Antonio. Numerous discussions occurred with representatives from Councilman Cryer's office and the city of San Antonio. I wrote 2 letters this past month, and the mayor wrote one stating the city's position to document again the need for the city of San Antonio to address the flooding issues caused by the development. The local did an excellent piece to document the flooding concerns that end up in our city. The mayor and I met with representatives from Councilman Cryer's office and the city of San Antonio. Right now, Luis Cuellar, our city engineer, is preparing a scope to mitigate the water, and please listen carefully, from the Meritage through our city to the outfall at West Avenue and Loop 410. So that would be the drainage that goes through our city, the flooding, I'm sorry. I met with Luis yesterday, and plans are, after the scope of work is complete, that the city of San Antonio and the city of Castle Hills will jointly take it to the Texas Water Development Board for funding for both of our cities. This could mean that one of our biggest drainage issues would be solved and funded by another entity. Even though great strides have been made, we will continue to speak loudly about our flooding and drainage. Another opportunity for our flooding is also here. We are coordinating with Bexar County for participation in the Bexar County Hazardous Mitigation Plan. A kickoff meeting was held with the consulting company hired to develop the plan. Chief Riedel is taking the lead on this project. A series of public meetings are scheduled during the summer months. This plan will address natural and human-caused hazards that affect our area. The Federal Management Agency, which is FEMA, defines mitigation as sustained actions taken to reduce or eliminate long-term risks to people and property from hazards and their effects. The goal of the HMP is to eliminate long-term risks to human life and property from known hazards through effective mitigation. FEMA is looking at a 75-25 split for funding. Stormwater is high on their priority list. Castle Hills has documented stormwater and drainage issues. Simply translated, after the plan is complete, our hope is that Castle Hills will receive monies to mitigate our stormwater issues. 2 opportunities for additional monies to address our long-standing flooding issues. Construction continues to move right along. Bank of San Antonio is targeted for a completion date of July 2016. There have been some rain delays, but the contractors are catching up. We are allowing them to work on selected Sundays and have had no complaints from the residents. The Castle Hills Medical Office Building, located at 1973 Northwest Loop 410, is continuing construction. Ordinance number 2016-04-12, dealing with no trimming of oak trees from February through June, has been advertised and is now in effect. In emergency situations, a permit will be issued. The city has scheduled mosquito fogging for May 24th and June 7th. We will post it on the website and social media. We are continuing negotiations with SolarHost. In conjunction with CPS Energy, they install a solar system on the rooftop and sell the electricity back to CPS Energy. In return, the city receives 3 cents per kilowatt hour for every kilowatt hour the system generates. The city has applied for the commercial application for all 3 buildings. A hailstorm occurred in the city of Castle Hills and caused significant damage. A special thanks to Public Works for all the extra debris and leaves that were picked up as residents cleaned up after the storm. There was an influx of solicitors or storm chasers throughout the city. We received numerous complaints from residents and issued code violations to individuals that did not have a solicitor's permit. The city buildings and vehicles also received damage. The appraisers have been out to assess the damage on all city buildings and vehicles. The assessment should be available soon and appropriate action will be taken. That's all I have for this report.
Thank you, Diane. The next item on the agenda is announcements by City Council. Matt, did you have anything to say? Thank you. Douglas, did you have anything to say? Frank? John?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I just wanted to thank you, Dan, for your report. One of the items on the flooding, I mean, obviously the West Avenue is a huge problem for our city as that water comes into our city. But also we have water that comes across from the Carrollwood, I call it Carrollwood area for that matter. And in doing a little digging, I'm not sure if that is being addressed. I'd like to make sure that we make note that is an issue. We get a lot of water coming in that runs across Lock Hill, Selma. And I want to make sure that that's also being talked about as a huge concern for our city as Luis is working on things. I think that needs to be brought forward. At this point, again, I haven't seen it, but I want to make sure and emphasize that.
John,
That's all I have. Thank you.
John, I wanted to follow up on that. First of all, folks, in case you haven't noticed, this council, and I'm not waving the flag for anybody but them, this council is highly involved. We have Mr. Gregory on the end there who, I don't know that there's a square inch of drainage system that he hasn't walked, and I know that for a fact. Even when it's raining, I've seen him in the ditch, walking behind Wedgewood, all over the city. Mr. Paul, hand in hand, I mean, together. They, he's involved in that. John is involved in streets. Douglas is involved as the chairman of drainage. Matt, the things he's working on, I even had future council person, Trevino, asking what he can do, and already doing study and right up with everything that's going on, and has told me that he is dedicated to do whatever it takes to move our city forward. I think that an important thing, Diane, thank you for bringing up the meeting with Mr. Cryer's office. Diane and I were over there, and if you've ever been in a meeting where I've been unhappy, it's not pleasant, I think. But we nearly walked out twice, but we didn't. And we told them that water will not be coming into Castle Hills anymore. I've seen it for the past 5 years old, 57 years. And now it's to the point where even Mr. Rochelle is here this evening with us over there in zoning. It's coming into his house. Now it's even coming into my house. It's coming into everybody who backs the main creek there on Manton. And we are going to stop it. And we've got the fortitude to do it. We've made the statement now, so it's going to happen one way or another, which will put big dollars into our area as far as drainage is concerned, and also help with our street drainage improvement programs. So that's what we have on the table. We've got a dedication from every single person up here that will be serving starting next time to move forward, and everybody wants to get involved. If you knew the hours that these gentlemen put in, Mr. Squire, Frank was up there fighting it over there at Meritage when they actually went out to the property out there. Douglas, the hours he put in. Matt, I can't tell you how many hours he put in. And I just want to let you know that I'm proud to be the mayor of this city. And I'm proud that these people are stepping forward and that we benefit as a city. So with that said, do we have a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor? Well, that didn't take long. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Good to see you too. You heard they didn't publish them in the paper. They weren't in the paper. Had one vote this year, but they had two.
Fair County elections, I saw it on there.
Self-imposed. Oh, yeah. We're trying to push the good thing. Significant stuff. Not a lot of city councils on small towns. They should be drain problem. Yeah. Take it by police and fire. And that's it. I mean, shouldn't be a lot. There shouldn't be a lot. But it's good that you got people that are responsibly looking at this. Well, I don't know about that. And now that the anti-has been installed, we'll go to the next one. Whatever the council decides, is maybe bond it to. What if we don't know what the decision? Oh, it was about 60-40 to a thing. Okay. Of course, the same people also voted to have two.
JR, congratulations, sir. Ms. Smith, we're seeing more of you here.
Everybody was worried what they were doing, but good to see you. Thanks for coming by.
Congratulations.
I think we have a real shot.
We do too. On return to you.
A lot of stuff. Well, everybody's doing it. I mean, it's not just one person. We'll start. Real chance.
How are you? Good, thank you. Thanks for coming in. It says a lot when it's Thursday morning. You say it over there. Yeah, we're Thursday. But you know what? When I go to meetings, like tomorrow, I'll go to a meeting. I'll go, so my wife is at home watching it. I said, hey,
Yeah.
Timmy Troops had broke his. Really? How'd that happen? You know,
Sure.
are you home? Okay, good.
I mean, I don't want you to send a
What
lot.
is your email?
Life's in essay.
I know what, you know what? I switched and I did some shit.
So this tree, I wonder, and I've asked, we get Davy Tree Service through New York. May any drive one by 900?
Because you want to see the spurs.